Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of If It All Ended Today, and basically in this video we're giving 25 possible ways that the world could end. I hope you enjoy. 13. Civil War. If you're prepping for a civil war, then you're probably watching the news today. And if you turn on the news today, you could see over in Kazakhstan that there's a lot of protests for a rise in gas prices. And what the government did over there was they gave a shoot to kill order. And what that means is that anyone caught protesting in the streets over this rise in gas prices could be shot and killed legally. And what this tells us is that, things can escalate really fast when it comes to these protests. And in the US, we have protests for vaccines and gun laws and abortions and all kinds of things, over elections. There's lots of different reasons. But, if you're prepping for a civil war, this is definitely something that could happen. And it's not far-fetched as most people would think. 12. EMP. EMP is an electric magnetic pulse. Now, things that could be affected by EMP blast would be like buildings, airplanes, cars, phones, basically anything with the computer chip. And we know right now that there's a shortage in computer chips. So EMP blast could definitely send us back to the Stone Ages when you think about it. So, EMP blast is a really serious thing. There's different ways you could prep for it. I've heard of like a Faraday cage. I'll do a video on that, and that's basically when you enclose your electronics so they can't be affected by the blast. So if you're prepping for a comet, aka a planet killer, to make contact with the Earth and destroy it or cause a lot of damage, it's really not as far-fetched as, a lot of people think. I know there's a lot of movies about it. There's a new one on Netflix called Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio. I checked it out. It was pretty good. But it's really not as far-fetched as you would think. It's really not as Hollywood as you would think. Scientists they've came to the conclusion that there's at least 25,000 comets that could actually hit the Earth and destroy it. So it's not far-fetched. It's not some crazy thing to be prepping for. Let me know in the comments if this is something you prep for, okay? All right. 10. Zombies. Nostradamus predicted zombies in the 16th century, and I don't know if you've seen my zombie apocalypse video. It's a 2-part series, but you should definitely check it out. But the CDC told us to be prepared for a zombie attack. A lot of famous YouTubers say a zombie apocalypse is coming. Bacteria that control a human body it's not a fantasy. That's a real thing. It could really happen. I think Squid Game showed us a form of zombies, the way that they would do anything for the money, and, they really didn't care about their own well-being. I think that represents a zombie to the fullest. If you're prepping for a zombie apocalypse, it's definitely something that could happen, but maybe just not as Hollywood as, the movies make it. 9. Overpopulation. The poor areas in cities have higher birth rates due to low education and not enforcing education. Global warming, pollution, habitat loss, all these things are caused by overpopulation. But, on the other hand, some governments appreciate an overpopulated nation because that makes the military stronger. During wartime, it's good to have a really strong population. And, another crazy fact is that, the reason that they started the birth control and the no abortion is because, the population was so small at one point, due to the Spanish flu and different things like this and World War I and things like that. So If you're prepping for overpopulation, it's definitely something that can happen. It's not far-fetched. If you're prepping for water shortages, they're already here. We've had water poisoning for years in different states in the United States. Overseas, there's definitely water shortages, but just speaking on the United States, we definitely have a lot of water problems right now. Um, there's a lot of movies that have to do with water shortages and the world ending because of a flood or no more water. Flooding can contaminate a lot of drinking water too, so they kind of go hand in hand. So if we were to get a tsunami or something like that, it would definitely affect our drinking water. Um, Rainwater is really important. If we weren't getting rain, that would definitely affect us. China has a huge water problem right now. Brazil has a huge water problem right now. It's just working. 7, food shortages. Now, we couldn't do water shortages without doing food shortages. And, you know, if you live in the U.S., you know that the food shortages are already here. We already have empty supermarkets. Places like San Diego, Vegas, Texas are really suffering. Our neighbors over in Mexico are definitely suffering. You could say that import is slow due to COVID, shortage of workers, shortage of farmers, but at the end of the day, you know, there's just not enough food. 6, volcano. There's been 78 eruptions in 2021 from 74 different volcanoes. Now let that sink into your head for a second. Not to mention, if you check out my videos, I recently did an update on the Hunga Tonga volcano, which is an underwater volcano that recently erupted and, you know, basically destroyed the island, you guys. But Yellowstone is the biggest super volcano, and that's really close to me, so I really pay attention to volcanoes. They say that Yellowstone could end the world as we know it. It's 2 million years old, and it's a really serious thing, you guys. If you're prepping for a volcano, then it's the same as prepping for an earthquake. It's the same as prepping for a fire. You need to get your food ready. You need to get your water ready. You need to have emergency evacuation plan. 5, hole in the ozone layer. Now, if you don't know what the ozone layer is, picture the Earth, all right? Now, picture a shield around the Earth. Now, that shield would be the ozone layer, and what it shields us from is the sun. So what they're saying is that there's a theory that there's a hole in the ozone layer, and that's why we're getting so much heat on the Earth, and that's why we need climate control. So if you believe that, then you believe that, you know, there's a way for them to control how much heat is coming from the sun and, you know, things like that. So if you're prepping for a hole in the ozone layer, it's hand in hand with climate control, and it's hand in hand with global warming. Four, absorption by the sun. Absorption by the sun is something that scientists believe, actually. Scientists believe that the sun burns hydrogen, and if the sun was to ever run out of hydrogen, then the sun would start burning helium. And if the sun was to start burning helium, then it would consume Earth, it would consume Venus, and it would consume Mercury, pulling them in and basically burning them to nothing. So if you're prepping for absorption by the sun, this is something that scientists believe in, but they say it won't happen for a really long time. Three, alien invasion. If you're prepping for an alien invasion or contact with an alien race, if you believe that aliens could come to, you know, take over our resources or to enslave us and make us work for them, it's possible, you guys, you know. Or, you know, aliens could just come because they need a planet and, you know, they want us off the planet and they want to take it over. Or, you know, maybe you believe that aliens are already here and they've started to push us out, you know, started to get rid of us. Maybe you're not worried about AI, you're worried about aliens. If this is something that you're prepping for, please let me know. It's really interesting to me. But yeah, a lot of people are prepping for when aliens will come and try to take over our Earth. 2. Solar flares. What is a solar flare? A solar flare is when there's an explosion on the sun, and that can have the effects of an EMP. But, you know, that would take a really big solar flare. You know, you always hear about these solar flares and everybody gets nervous and nothing happens. But, you know, solar flares can send out radiation. They can cause blackouts. They can disrupt supply chains. They're not as bad as the EMP because the EMP is just intentionally supposed to knock out everything. But, you know, a huge solar flare could be devastating, you guys. It could be, you know, it could set us back to the Stone Ages. One, a God, a Messiah, a rapture. A Messiah returning, according to Revelations, would mean that all the events that I've listed would happen. Every single one would happen. It's almost at the same time, you guys. You know, if you read the Bible, it'll tell you that everything that I've listed and more will happen. So if a Messiah returned, if, you know, the rapture happened, if, you know, God came back to earth, or Jesus or a Messiah came back to earth, everyone, all 25 of the things that we've listed today will be correct, you guys. It will all be right. So, you know, in my opinion, I'm going to go with a Messiah returning, because a Messiah returning will mean that every prepper was right and every prepper had good intuition and every prepper knew what was going to happen. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please like and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment. Let me know where you are. Let me know how you're prepping and what you're prepping for. God bless everybody for watching this video. I love you guys. Peace and blessings. Shalom.